What is up, Scrub fam? I am here with a video coming off of the biggest Dragon Ball Super card game of the weekend. We had Nationals that just took place. It is Monday after Nats. Before I dive into this recap video, let me give a shout out to my team, Shenron's Lair, the best team on the planet. We had an amazing weekend being able to spend time together as a team for the first time, all of us in one house, under one roof. And honestly, it was one of the best experiences that I've had playing this game so far, and I definitely love all of my new teammates and getting to know them and spend time with them. And then also we had some successes at the event. So anyway, diving into the video, Nats was amazing, right? So I left Wednesday evening. I took a flight out. I packed up the cards that I wanted to bring with me. I got a hotel when I got in, and then I met up with the guys Thursday at the Airbnb, in which we started testing almost immediately. From the jump, it blue yellow Shenron, I'll go over the updated list later in this video so you guys can see what that deck looks like because I've been keeping that to myself lately. That was one of the decks I had on my radar, as well as of course Storm, Janemba Mill, which I had been working on a list with Pat, Eric Malone, and TJ when we did our testing weekend, and then ultimately ended up helping contribute to the list that Trey and Pat, as well as Caleb from Shenron's Lair, all played. So I helped contribute on that with the play testing and then some of the card choices and giving my input, which was a really good experience. Spent time with Chris Welch helping figure out what kind of Hercule brew would be the best. I tested a bunch of different Shenron variants and just tested all over just different parts of the format. The only person in our house that was steadfast on playing something was Tim Palacios, and that showed with his top 32 finish with Pan. He was on Pan from the start of the weekend for weeks before and then all the way through the weekend, and that led to his awesome finish, so congrats to Tim. Myself, Jose Mercado, and Chris Welch, we were all testing and we were all really data driven, and I think we all got caught up too much in the data that was being presented, and so we were playing a lot of games where we test a lot of these decks and we test them against Storm, and then Storm would still come out on top, and none of us really had a good feeling about anything that we were playing. Myself, I had sat down and played games as Janemba and against Droids. The matchup didn't feel that good. It could have been because my opponent was drawing really well, but every single time I played Janemba, I didn't feel like I was being proactive enough, even though the deck is very good. I mean, Pat showed that, making his top 32 finish, and Scott Dashy made top 32, and then I think a gentleman named Alexis also made top 32 with Janemba, and I do think that Janemba is very strong, with the right matchups. But ultimately, I really didn't want to play such a reactive strategy, and I called it the hope strategy, which Janemba is really kind of on the hope strategy, where it's I hope my opponent doesn't draw well. I hope my opponent misplays. I hope they missequence. I hope they don't manage their energy properly. I hope they don't figure out what they need to do to kill me, that kind of thing. And I'm not really a fan of that. I like to play a deck that's really proactive in what it does, whether if it's something that's a controlling strategy or if it's an aggressive strategy. So I was put off of Janemba, blue-yellow Shenron. The deck I probably should have played for the weekend, I felt had too many bad matchups, and I was really worried about running into them, even though I played a ton of games with that deck. So ultimately, I ended up opting to play Storm for Saturday, which I said I would not do, and I feel really bad about it because even the night when I made the decision, which was Friday night, actually it's technically Saturday morning at 12:30 in the morning. I felt kind of defeated from all my testing, and I really didn't want to play. And nothing really felt good to me, and I really didn't want to play Storm. But at the time, it was the only thing that I had fully built that was ready to go for the next day. So I just decided to do it. So myself, Jose, Chris Welch, Molly Mall all decided to play Storm late that night, and then so we went on to Saturday. So we get into the event itself, and of course, shout out to Richard Zapp for recommending the Mongolian place that we went to Friday night, and of course it led to us finding out the promo pack conspiracy in which no one pulled Janembas. We had a room of 20 plus Dragon Ball players at the Mongolian restaurant, and none of us had pulled the Janemba promos in any of our promos packs, and as well as the people that were around the event on Friday. So, wonder where they all went, No idea. No idea why the booth was still selling them for $20 plus, and they never ran out of stock for some reason. Crazy. But in general, yeah, so dinner that night was amazing. Then we discovered the conspiracy, which was awesome. Felt great. And then, so we went on a Saturday. I was playing Storm, and I really didn't feel good about it. And the reason why I played the deck itself was because dating back to the last game I played, which was the Dragon Ball Z card game. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that game made by Panini. I made a pretty big blunder in which I had helped work on probably the best deck, which Eric Malone had played for the event, as well as Tommy, who was also in our testing group, had played, and Thomas, my best friend, had played it at the LCQ the day before and came up short just due to a misplay of his own. But he was running through people all day. I opted not to play the deck because I didn't enjoy playing the deck, even though the deck was the best deck, and that led to me having a really poor finish at Worlds for Panini. And so I really kind of wanted to avoid that again. And so even though Storm was unfun to play, it definitely was, from all the data that showed, it was still the best deck, and that showed with the results of Nats. But as I said before, this format is pretty matchup dependent. It depends on what you see first round. So, for instance, round one, I played against a Storm mirror match, which is not fun for anybody, especially for the first round of the tournament against a player who was a good player. He won the dice roll. He started off. He saw a go 10 early in game one. I did not see a go 10 early in game one. I had to find one. Game two, I was on the play. I had a go 10, but I didn't have a Bardock, so I had to find a Bardock. So I was kind of playing with draws that were slightly awkward, and I didn't generate as much card advantage as he did, and so I lost game one on the play, and then I ended up losing game two in the draw, unfortunately, just because of the way that the cards kind of fell. And that's the risk that you kind of take running a deck like Karudagarn Storm, is your deck is really draw dependent. Like, you have to draw the right set of cards, and if you don't, the deck can brick pretty hard. So I took game one, the round one loss in stride, and went on to round two. Unfortunately, I had to play against somebody I know, is LD from New York. He's playing droids. He also won the dice roll in that matchup. Game one, I got pretty close to taking it from him, but unfortunately, I ended up falling short because my draw was pretty clunky. He can attest to that. Again, I didn't really get going until my third turn, whereas Storm likes to really start get going on turn two. So, I had another issue with that, and then game two, I sat in Haru Haru, and then absolutely had an amazing game that game. I played really, really well. I sequenced properly, punished him with Haru Harus, and then we go into game three where he's back on the play, and I was ahead. I was going to turn three, which is my kill turn. I did 2 straight damage to him, and the damage that I dealt to him, both of them were Sensu Beans. So after that happened, he was a 25k leader. My turn stalled out, and then I would come to lose the game. So I was on kind of on the bad side of variance, which was unfortunate. But I did learn something really important about my choice for the weekend. It was the fact that I know from just my experience at Orlando, right? I play my absolute best when I'm enjoying the game. And I didn't put myself in a position to enjoy the game this weekend. I put myself in a position that I never really put myself in, which is forcing myself to play something that I didn't want to play. And I don't really ever want to make that mistake. But this weekend was about more than just a tournament. This tournament's not about me. It's about everyone else. It's about the entire Dragon Ball Super community. And from that regard, it was absolutely outstanding. The amount of people that came up to me and wanted to meet me and shake my hand and take a picture with me and have me sign stuff, and just thanking me for what I contributed to the community and thanking me for helping them in their progress and whatever they wanted to, and what they were looking for as a player, attributing their success to me. Like, all that was just insane, right? I didn't expect that, but it was awesome. And then, of course, watching my friends play and, supporting them and being there and cheering them on and being there in their victories and their, if they failed, just being there for them and just having that team atmosphere, that environment, and then that, of course, the community environment. Being able to just talk to everyone in the community. Scott Dashy, the Hill Twins, all the people from New York, all the people from Canada, just all the different play groups. Met up with the Bearded Boys again, the Bearded Gang. I love those boys. We met up again and hung out and talked, and the entire event was absolutely amazing. And I have a lot of takeaways from this event, from both from the competitive perspective as well as just from a personal perspective. Which competitively, I need to make sure that I'm enjoying the game, because if I'm not enjoying the game, I'm not gonna. Number one, I don't think I played very well. And I think that had a lot to do with my energy and my demeanor going to the tournament. So I don't think I played very well. And at the same time, I do think that I just had unfortunate matchups and unfortunate circumstances happen. But, I can make better of that by having a better attitude, by playing a deck that I should have, that would have allowed me to do that. And so that's on me. But in general, shout out to Jordan Markle, our very first national champion for the Dragon Ball Super card game. A really close friend of mine. I've known him for years now. We played the Dragon Ball Z card game together, and we met through that, and we've been in touch ever since. And it was amazing to see him win. It was amazing to see all of his friends there, and everyone was emotional and supportive. And watching the finals was insane. It was a nail biter the entire time, and there was multiple times where Jordan had the game, and we were trying to figure out what he was doing, and then ultimately he ended up locking it up, and everyone's super ecstatic. Shout out to Miguel for coming in second. I've actually played against Miguel a few times, so it was cool because I didn't know who he was at first. I just saw his name on the thing. So then seeing him come out and I recognized who it was, I've gotten the best of him at two events prior. So Vegas, I believe it was one of the events. And then also we played each other at San Jose, and that was actually a really memorable game for me. So it was really cool because he's a fantastic player. It was awesome to see him get second at nationals, and then Jordan Beard who got third. And I know Jordan because he actually did really well. The Canada regionals, and we worked together. We talked about that event because he was a patron at the time. So it was really sweet to see him come in third. It was awesome to see Daniel Bivens. He came up to me with Chris Welch, and Chris Welch told him that he joined the 2-0 club. He was one of the only people to 2-0 Chris Welch, and Daniel was actually another patron of mine, which was insane. And then, young Badman, Brandon Scott made top 32. Marcus made top 32. Shane Early made top 32. Like, seeing all these people progress and all these people that I've had conversations with and got to know and spent time talking to and seeing them progress and get these results has just been absolutely incredible. And I couldn't ask for more from an event. And then, of course, afterwards on Saturday, after the celebration of Jordan, we went out to dinner to the Brazilian Steakhouse, and that was actually, it was Sunday, right? Sunday, yeah. We went out to the Brazilian Steakhouse, and that was awesome. That was a hilarious time. Going back to Saturday, after I lost, I went 0-2, and I just decided to drop from the event. Because at that point, I really didn't want to play the rest of the day playing Storm and then lose another round and then cause me just to waste my day. Because knowing my luck, I would go on a 6-win run. I'd go 6-2, and then I'd lose the last round on a winning in, and then I'd feel like I spent my whole entire day playing a deck that I hated for nothing. So I went to Mikey's Late Night Slice with Baby Girl Thomas Ingle and met up with another dude that played there. His name's John Carlos. And we just started drinking and eating pizza and having fun, and we had a conversation. We were like, we know we're not bad at the game, right? Like, we're not bad at the game. And, we just shared this common moment where we're both like, God, I hate having to tell myself I know I'm not bad. It was hilarious. So, there was tons of moments like that just from traveling to the event that I picked up and, spending time with the team and all the jokes and all the quippy one-liners and, making fun of each other, and we were like brothers. It was the best experience, and honestly something that I'll truly remember for the rest of forever, and I'm glad that I took the trip. But anyway, that was my Nats recap. Nothing too insane. I did play in the Gunslinger event the next day with a deck that I'll end up profiling to you. It's one of my favorite decks to play right now. It's a Child's Wish base deck. I did do some tweaking after the event, especially for the best of one format, because it was best of for one, and I really kind of missed out on having some tech cards that could help improve the deck in best of one, because I kind of built the deck right before the tournament based off of a list that was already in my head. So, without further ado, let me go into two deck lists for you. So, the first one is Big Blue Yellow Shenron. So this was one of the decks that I actually was considering playing for the main event. And so the basis of this deck is you're just a more controlling, more mid-range strategy, and your finisher really is just going to be at all costs Vegeta plus Battering. You're going to see that a lot in common with the next deck list I'm about to tell you. But in general, this deck really wants to control the pace and tempo of the game, and it really wants to kind of slow things down. So the way that it does that, it plays 3 Crisis Crushers main. I know a lot of people are like, why do you play this card main? I play it main in a lot of decks because it's really good against a lot of strategies. Any sort of red aggressive strategy, it's good against the yellow aggressive strategies. It's really good against Hercule, Announcer, any deck that plays Dark Mass Saiyan, or any sort of value 1-drop, Newfound Power Sun Gohan when androids are trying to awaken, etc. So, Crisis Crusher does a lot to slow down those matchups because a lot of people rely on 1-cost cards to awaken, and Crisis Crusher kind of punishes them for that. So, that helps slow down the early turns of the game and really stops our opponent from awakening, which is exactly what we need to make enough time to be successful in this deck. We play 3 World Peace, and we play 1 Dragon Radar. The 1 Dragon Radar has 2 purposes. Number 1, it's a draw 2 at the beginning of the game, if we need it and we have it early, or it's our 4th copy or 4th and 5th copy of World Peace. So that's why we play 1 Dragon Radar to go with our 3 World Peace. We play 2 Shenron Figure of Majesty. This plays into a lot of how you're going to end up winning the game, and this card actually enables a lot of the more broken draws in the strategy, just based on what you can do. Because Shenron Figure of Majesty plus Beerus, Universe 7 Divine Vanquisher is one of the most sick things you can do to somebody, especially as the game kind of goes on, and they're charging and their hand size is low and there's not much they can do. And this is especially devastating to Hercule, because since you're Crisis Crushing, they can't really play any Awakening cards until they get to the third and fourth turn. And then by the time that happens, they don't really have much cards in hand, because we're not attacking them. We don't attack them until we have a guy that's big and with crit on the board. And then once we do that, we turn our Beerus sideways, and then they have to take the 30k double strike crit. They have to discard cards from hand, and we kind of take over the game there. But the big win condition, as I stated, is at all cost Vegeta, and I really like to pair this with Shenron Figure of Majesty, same way that I talk about doing with Beerus. If I'm trying to win the game, usually if it's something against like Janemba's not really a bad matchup for this deck, because all you really have to do is just assemble your at all cost Vegeta plus battering when they're at 6 life, and you're going to be able to take the game away from them, because you're going to get 3 swings, and they're never going to be able to awaken to be able to use their leader ability. I don't like trying to do it at 5, because you do it at 5, you're giving them an opportunity to then Dimension Magic to put themselves to 4, so then they can then flip on the next attack, so they still can actually live. So I really like to take them from 6 to 3 to 0 with that all cost Vegeta, and that works out even better if you have the Shenron Figure of Majesty on board, because that means it's coming in for crit, and he's usually gigantic by the time you're coming in for crit with your leader's ultimate ability. Play 4 Objection because we need to see it. I was originally playing 3, but this deck really relies on seeing Objection early, similar to the big Gogeta 7 drop decks, but we just want to make sure we have it at all times. 4 Sensu Bean, it's the best defensive card in the game, have to play it. 2 Ultimate Fusion Gogeta, I think this is probably one of the most busted cards in the game. It does everything that you want it to do. It can really shift the tides of a game, so I like playing it at 2 here. I don't really like to stress the ratios too much by playing 3. The only really card that I need to see as the win condition is at all cost Vegeta, and you can tell by the ratios. We play 3 Nimbus, 2 Battering. This was at 4 Nimbus, but 4 Nimbus felt like I saw it way too often. I really only want the Nimbus when I need the Nimbus, and so 3 feels like the perfect number for me. Otherwise, I draw it too much, and I really have to kind of avoid being extra card heavy. We play a Singleton Mifuba, just in case. So just in case they have a Deadly Defender, or just in case they have, a Vegito, or just in case they have a finisher that you need to get off the board. It's really just kind of there as like the, just the fail safe if things kind of go sideways. 2 Explosive Spirits on Goku, 1 Source of Power Son Goku. The Explosive Spirits on Goku has been great in testing so far. Whether if I'm hard casting it or if I have to kind of wish it back, even though I don't want to do that, it's worked out really well. The 1 Source of Power Son Goku, I like this card as it's a really good setup attacker, and a lot of people don't actually realize how good this card is, because when you turn it sideways and take a life, since your life's usually pretty high with Shenron, you can usually just net this as a draw 2, and he just ends up being a 20k attacker. And the longer he lives, the more threatening he is to the opponent. And then I have another sweeter removal with 2 Mecha Frieza the Returning Terror and 2 Belmod in the deck as well. Belmod is absolutely disgusting against a lot of decks because he has Barrier, Double Strike, and then if you don't use the removal effect, you actually get to draw a card and then put cards in your drop area, which synergizes really well with this deck. And then 2 Mecha Frieza the Returning Terror just as a way to kind of get a 2 for 1, or in this case you'd be a 2 for 2, because you're going to have to trade 2 cards in order to be able to kill their 2 bodies, because you're going to have to play either a World Peace or the Mecha Frieza and then discard. But in general, Mecha Frieza is kind of a last-minute addition over the past couple weeks that has paid huge dividends in testing so far. And then we have 2 Trio de Dangerous Bergamo. This has been a tech choice. Anytime that I really want to stabilize the game and you're playing against a deck that isn't really removal heavy, which is a lot, you just put down your Trio de Dangerous Bergamo, and you're usually able to buy an extra turn or 2 before you're able to go off that Al-Cost Vegeta. But in general, this deck is really good. It's a lot of fun. I've let people over the weekend test and play this deck themselves. They've seen how powerful the interactions are, and it's just a toolbox deck. Toolbox deck. You have everything you want in your drop. You grab it when you need it, and go from there. And so I'll go into the deck that I played in the Best of One Gunslinger event. This is my 4-color Child's Wish deck, and so there's some things that I changed. The only thing I changed really was I added 2 Kami Global Unifier to the main deck, especially if you're looking for a best of one format. I feel like it's necessary, because if you play against something like Androids and they build that field of like Deadly Defenders and multiple Android 17s, then you're really going to want a Kami to be able to wipe the board and get them off. And then also if you're playing in Shenron Veggies, Kami Global Unifiers, fantastic at best of one format. So this deck really is kind of built for best of one the way it's constructed right now. Play 4 Child's Wish, of course, because that's just the main card that we need in the deck. We don't play anything like Dragon Radar, because again, we're trying to keep our number of extras down, because we have all the Dragon Balls and everything. We got 4 Sensu Beans, 3 Nimbus, 2 Battering, same ratios. And then my yellow package also consists of 3 Explosive Spirits on Goku, 2 Super Power Son Goku, and 2 Power Charge Bardock. I know you're going to see a lot of cards that shift from list to list, but honestly, a lot of these cards I'm kind of attached to because they've been fantastic in testing, and so that's why they're here. 3 Crisis Crushers on Goku, because you have to kill Dark Power Mass Saiyans opponents. If they're on the board, they ruin your ability to use Child's Wish, because if you use Child's Wish and it's on the board, you're going to have to discard 2 cards, and we can't have that. So Crisis Crusher kind of nips that in the bud and takes care of our opponent's early aggression. We have 4 quick thinking Go Tanks, just a crit attacker, probably the best attacker in the game at all phases of the game. Always going to draw at least a card from your opponent or do a crit damage to them. Helps reduce their hand size, which is exactly what you need to help close out the game, and draws a card when it swings. We have 2 Sneak Attack Vegeta. This is kind of like the way that I beat Janemba with this deck, because a lot of people are like, well, how does this deck beat Janemba? Well, if you get a quick thing, you Go Tanks and a Sneak Attack Vegeta online. This is what I always try to do. I try and get both online. Then Sneak Attack Vegeta makes in top deck a card. Quick thing and Go Tanks gives them a crit. So whenever you're attacking with those 2 guys, they're never getting a card. And so that sets us up for the win condition, which again is just trying to get them to 6 life, and then we just at all costs have a battering, and they're just going to kill them outright. Nothing crazy. In order to be able to do that and live long enough against a lot of aggressive strategies, people ask, well, how does this deck survive against aggro? Well, turn 1 Bean or turn 1 Nimbus, and then turn 2 Child's Wish into an Iron Hammer of Justice. And then if you can get 2 Iron Hammer of Justice on board against any aggressive deck, the opponent's never going to be able to break through. If you ask me how this deck deals with Deadly Defenders, the way it does is you're going to just basically be playing Android 16s, because they have to turn that Deadly Defender sideways in order to be able to get the effect of the Deadly Defender to force you to attack it. And once you have an Iron Hammer of Justice online, you just defend it, you play Protect the Queen, it kills all your opponent's battle cards, they're not able to do anything to you, and then you just take advantage of it with your Child's Wish strategy. You just keep using Quick Thing and Go Tanks and Sneak Attack Vegeta to get value. And then, of course, we have our yellow cards like Power Charge Bardock, do the same thing, draws a card. Source of Power can draw 2 cards. And then we need to play a card like Source of Power because we want our life to get to 4, so then Spirited Surge Trunks is online, which you play at 2 copies. Once it's online, you're then able to buy back your wishes every single turn, and that's when this deck starts to get pretty degenerate, is you just keep buying back things like your Android 16. So there was a game that I played, against, a lot of people where I would have to stabilize, so I would just keep buying back Android 16s once I had a Spirited Surge Trunks, and then once I had stabilized, I would then turn the corner with my Quick Think and Go Tanks, and then I would play my At-All Cost Vegeta to kind of close out the game. Or I played against Universe 7 in the Gunslinger event, and I basically just hardcast an Explosive Spirit Son Goku, and then Child's Wish and Android 16. They tapped on my Android 16 with their leader, and then of course they tried to go off, but they couldn't because I had Explosive Spirit, which is a barrier blocker. And then I basically got another Explosive Spirit out of the drop, played it with a Child's Wish, KO'd the Goku that was in play, and then I took over the game entirely and basically just locked them out, and then forced them to a point where they either were going to die by taking a life or they decked out, and they ended up decking out. But in general, this deck is a lot of fun. Deck is very good. I recommend testing it, tweaking it. You're going to see a lot of lists coming out from myself, as well as people on Shenron's layer, people that did really well in the event. Danny Wynn's list is actually really sweet that he played for the event, and he plays stuff like Iron Hammer of Justice, Android 16, Quick Thinking Go Tanks, just a lot of the premier stuff, At-All Cost Vegeta, and I can't stress enough, At-All Cost Vegeta is absolutely insane with Shenron. It's probably one of the most busted cards in the game, just based on the way it works, because if you put him down on your 5th or 4th turn if you're playing Objection, you take the 2 life, he's a 35k. Shenron, activate, he's a 45k. And then you have Battering Laser backup, and he's swinging in 3 times with Triple Strike. Like, it's just GG for a lot of opponents. So I won a lot of games over the weekend with this deck just by grinding opponents down, getting rid of their resources, taking away their battle cards with Iron Hammer of Justice, and then closing the game with At-All Cost Vegeta. But in general, I hope you guys enjoyed these deck overviews, and I hope you enjoyed my Nax recap. I thank you guys so much for everything. Check out the Patreon. Theater Productions on Patreon. There's a lot of articles that'll be going up daily starting tomorrow, talking about Nats, the format, etc., and just improvement as a player. And I thank you all so much for the support, and thank you all for everything that you do. It makes everything that I do 100% worth it, so I appreciate everything. Shout out to everybody at Nationals. Shout out to Jordan Markle, the first national champion, and of course shout out to Shenron's Lair. Amazing spending time with you guys. Thank you again so much for everything. Scrub fam is best fam. Bye!